Using Mediterranean fasting to get lean is a really solid strategy, and the literature is starting to back it up quite a bit. Now, a couple weeks ago, I posted a video announcing that this challenge was starting. And although it's a challenge, it's really just more of a community meal plan. I wanted to create something that everyone could follow. You can adjust macros a little bit, you can adjust amounts. This isn't the absolute end-all be-all, but this is the general framework that I'm going to follow, and I want you to follow with me if you're interested. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to alternate days. We're going to have a non-fasting day, and we're going to have an 18-hour fasting day. So every other day you'll be fasting, every other day you won't be fasting, but you'll be following Mediterranean principles. So when I say every other day you're fasting, you're still going to be eating. You're not fasting the whole day, you're just fasting for 18 hours and then eating what's on this side of the board. So we'll go through, break down, and get a basics of it. Now again, I put a link for the PDF version of this as well. So that way you can download a copy, you can print it out, you can put it on your fridge, you can carry it in your car, whatever, so you can remember it. You can pop it up on your phone. Super easy, so that link's down below. And then ButcherBox was generous enough to sponsor this entire challenge. So as far as the meat for this entire protocol, things like the ground beef, things like the chicken breast, things like the steak, whatever, you can get through ButcherBox, and it's a special link. And they have a lot of cool promos going on. They've got like free ground beef for life, and it's all grass-fed, grass-finished beef. So even if it's just to say, hey, you know what, they sponsor this content, we're putting out really good meal plans, even if it's just as like a thank you, give them a shot, give them a try. It's totally worth it, and you don't have to stick with it if you don't like it, but I highly, highly recommend it because it makes life super easy and convenient just to have your meat shipped directly to your doorstep. But I'm not kidding when I say their grass-fed steaks are the best steaks I've probably ever had outside of a couple unique situations at very nice restaurants. Okay, so what you're gonna do is wake up in the morning. I want you to make a concerted effort to have a minimum of a half a liter of water. Put a squirt of lemon in there and maybe a tablespoon or two of apple cider vinegar. I can go on and on about the reasons why, and I've done many videos explaining. I can link out to them in the description. I'm not gonna bore you with the details here. Ideally, I'd love if you could work out fasted. But again, it's up to you. I'm not gonna force you to. I just think it works better personally, and the literature seems to back it up, although it's split pretty evenly on both sides. Here's what you're gonna have for breakfast. And again, you can adjust the amounts here. You know, maybe you're a small frame person that doesn't weigh that much. You don't necessarily need to eat the same amount, right? 2 to 3 whole eggs, and cook them in olive oil at a low temperature. Contrary to popular belief, if you have good quality olive oil, you can cook with it. You just don't want to cook at an extreme high heat over like say 400 degrees. 2 ounces of either Parma ham or smoked salmon. Parma ham is essentially just like prosciutto. All it's going to be is going to be ham and salt. Like Costco has a great one. You don't want any of the sodium benzoates, you don't want any of the phosphates, anything like that. Look for a ham that just has salt and ham. And then smoked salmon, same kind of thing. Try to go for a salmon that is like a sockeye salmon that's been smoked, and one that doesn't have, doesn't say farm raised on it. Okay, 1 cup of strawberries or blueberries or mix. If you go blueberries, try to go wild blueberries. They're significantly lower carb. And yeah, a full cup of them, you're still only gonna have maybe 20 to 30 grams of carbs. Now, full disclaimer, if you are someone that does low carb, feel free to omit the carbohydrates from this. That's totally cool with me. 1/4 to 1/2 of an avocado, and 2,000 milligrams of fish oil with this meal. We really want to keep those omega-3s high. So get a good quality fish oil, one that is in triglycerol form, maybe fish oil, maybe cod liver oil, something called calamari oil or krill oil is really good too. You're going to be taking it with a lot of your meals to keep those omega-3 values up. For lunch, anywhere from 4 to 8 ounces of lean ground beef, chicken, or turkey. Now, I love ButcherBox's beef. It's pretty lean. They have bison, which you could use as well. Make a caprese style salad with your lunch. This is some way to have some fun with it. So use like a 1/2 cup of little mozzarella, or you can use goat cheese or feta if you'd rather, some cherry tomatoes cut up, maybe some basil, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So whatever amount that makes with a 1/2 cup of mozzarella and 2 tablespoons of olive oil, it's probably going to make about 3/4 of a cup or so, maybe a cup. 1/2 of an avocado. Fun fact, if you want to cut it up and put it in your caprese, it actually works really good too. You can do the olive oil, and then you also want to add a little bit of balsamic vinegar, but just be careful with the vinegar because sometimes there's a lot of sugar. So you can always use red wine vinegar, white rice vinegar, or balsamic if it's low sugar. Onions, garlic, and peppers are okay as well if you wanted to saute some up and mix them up in anything too. 1,000 milligrams of fish oil with this meal. Dinner time. Your choice of 4 to 8 ounces again of salmon, scallops, any kind of white fish, those would be preferred. If you don't eat fish, go ahead and go for chicken breasts, that's fine. 1 cup of cooked lentils. I prefer red split lentils. Little higher polyphenol content in those just because of the pigment, but they're also just a great form of fiber. So additionally, if you want to go the pasta route, lentil or chickpea pasta is great, and you just want 1 cup cooked. So 1 cup after you cook it of this chickpea or lentil pasta like Banza or any of those kinds. If you're going low carb, sub that with zucchini noodles, totally cool. Or you can just put it over a bed of zucchini or wilted spinach. 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil on top of that, and then some Parmesan to taste. So you're basically making a white sauce or olive oil sauce. You could put a smidge of butter in there too if you want. And then of course, once again, we've got our 1,000 milligrams of fish oil and the veggies. I want you to add some veggies with either asparagus, broccoli, squash, or zucchini. Every other day, you're gonna do this for 30 days, okay? Now we're gonna move into the fasting day. So on this day, you're going to basically be skipping breakfast and not eating till later in the day. There's a lot of detail and nuance that goes into fasting, and I don't want this to be a 1-hour video. So what I've done is down in the description, I've linked to some of my more popular fasting videos if you need an introduction on how to fast. But the basics of it, it's straightforward. You're just not eating, okay? So wake up, you're gonna do 1/2 to 1 liter. So I might have you drink a little more water in this case with obviously lemon and ACV. And one thing I didn't write down that I think is important, it might not be a bad idea to sip on some electrolytes throughout the course of the day. Not a sponsored plug, but I do want to mention this is where I would recommend something like Element electrolytes, LMNT, because there's 1,000 milligrams of sodium, so it kind of carries you through the day a little bit better. Caffeine is fine. It's fine on both days, okay? Ideally, if you really want to follow this really strictly, I would recommend having caffeine only on your fasting days. Not because caffeine's the enemy, but what that's going to do is it's going to improve some tolerance, and you might actually get a nice benefit. It's going to preserve the effects of caffeine to be stronger on your fasting days. So try it. Maybe it's a way to get off some of the caffeine, and preferably green tea. So ideally only caffeine on a fasting day. You're gonna fast until the 18-hour mark hits, right? So as soon as you hit 18 hours, you break your fast. So depending on when you start, it could vary. But you're gonna break your fast with 3 to 5 ounces of lean meat. I don't care what you choose. Turkey, chicken, shake. I don't recommend breaking with lean red meat. It's a little hard to digest. Save that for later. But a shake is fine too. It's whey protein, plant-based, it's all good. A small handful of fruit. I think having a little bit of fruit here might help you out. We just don't wanna go overboard. I just want more polyphenols. I want more antioxidants at the end of your fast. You could absolutely get away by just having the protein if you don't want to do the fruit here. I just think the more that we can squeeze in as far as antioxidants in, the better as far as a Mediterranean approach. 1 hour later after you break this fast, you have a more robust meal. Okay, this one you can have a protein of choice up to 50 grams of protein. So you can take in 50 grams of protein at once. You absolutely can. I don't care what kind of protein you choose. It could be a shake, it could be a can of tuna, it could be chicken, it could be a cat. It doesn't really matter. But what I do want you to have is less than 15 grams of fat. Okay, that's the main thing here, is it's a lower fat protein. 1 cup of butternut squash or zucchini or red potato. Now, obviously, these are different glycemic indexes and loads, but the red potato, I think, is going to give you that good starch, especially if you've been working out. So if you work out, maybe opt for the potato. 1 ounce of macadamia nuts or hazelnuts or pecans. These are the 3 nuts that I really lean into. I think these are the best nuts. Macadamia nuts are my favorite. However, they're technically not Mediterranean, but as far as a fatty acid profile is concerned, they're as Mediterranean as can be. They're just not geographically there, okay? 3 hours later, this could be a little shorter, okay? If you broke your fast at 3 p.m., then that means you're having this meal at 4 p.m. That would mean you're having this meal at 7. That's pretty late. Okay, so it all depends, right? You can make it 2 hours if you need to. And you might be full, but you kind of need to eat a little bit more. You gotta make sure you get your calories in on these days. Protein of choice, once again, you can go a fattier cut allowed, this time up to 20 grams of fat. So you can go for a slightly fattier cut like a New York steak or something like that. Again, ButcherBox has tremendous options for that. Now, with that, as long as it's less than 20 grams of fat, we're good. And as long as it's up to 50 grams of protein, we're good. 6 to 8 ounces of sweet potato, purple sweet potato preferred. Slightly more antioxidant rich and has anthocyanins in it, which are a very potent antioxidant. 1 cup of sauteed mushrooms, so 1 cup before they're sauteed. So 1 cup fresh, saute them. I know not everyone digs mushrooms, but they are such a tremendous source of beta glucans, a tremendous source of vitamin D as well, but that's optional. 2 cups of greens wilted down. So 2 cups of spinach wilted down is going to come down to probably 3/4 of a cup to a cup of spinach. I want it cooked because the cooking is going to break down the phytates and the oxalates in it. So wilted down, then add 2 tablespoons of olive oil and a squirt of lemon. Tastes really good with like some wilted spinach. Dessert, not mandatory, but I think you're going to want it. 1 to 2 cups, which 2 cups would be a lot. The only people that would be having 2 cups would be people that are like maybe bigger people or people that are really working out hard on this day. 1 cup, ideal. Low-fat Greek yogurt or non-fat Greek yogurt that's unsweetened. Add a sweetener like monk fruit. Don't add sugar. If you absolutely need your carbs, I'm okay with you adding maybe a tablespoon of honey, but it's still not recommended. 2 tablespoons of chia seeds mixed in. I want that soluble fiber in there. And 2 tablespoons, this is optional, of heavy whipping cream. So take heavy whipping cream, you can sweeten it with monk fruit again, or don't sweeten it at all, whip it up, 2 tablespoons before it's whipped. Okay, and then you can add some berries on top, make a nice big dessert. Supplements, optional, not mandatory, but I'll say the recommended ones here. 400 milligrams of magnesium by way of what's called dimagnesium malate. You can go on Amazon and search for one called Jigsaw. Jigsaw Health has magnesium SRT in this dosage. 3,000 milligrams of the fish oil, this time you're having just at the end of the day versus throughout. 300 milligrams of alpha lipoic acid, especially if you're active. In fact, I would only recommend this if you're really working out. 1,500 milligrams of L-carnitine, 1.5 grams of L-carnitine to help mobilize fat a little bit more. This you could even take during the day, during your fast if you would like. I wouldn't necessarily think you'd want to take it at night. You may want to take it earlier in the day. 200 milligrams of theanine to help you sleep. And optional is a 1/4 cup of tart cherry juice, which has some robust research to show that it's possibly even more potent than melatonin to help you sleep, because as you're adjusting to a fast, it might be harder for you to sleep for the first few days. So again, the link to download the entire PDF is in the description, as well as the link to get ButcherBox and get your meat for this entire protocol, and just to try them out. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.